Hey, everybody. I'm Tom LeBlanc. I'm the editorial director for Commercial Integrator. Today, I'm very happy to be joined by Brandon Breznick from Premier Mounts. Hey, Brandon.
Hey Tom, how's it going?
It's going well. So, we're talking right now, a couple of weeks after InfoComm 2019 wrapped up, and it was a big show for the industry. It was a big show for Premier Mounts. It was a big show for you. Tell me a little bit about your reaction to InfoComm.
Yeah, I will say InfoComm. This is actually my third InfoComm that I've personally attended on behalf of Premier Mounts. It's actually probably been the best show that I've experienced in the last 3 years. Our booth, we had a lot of really cool things that we tried to kind of play outside the box with. For example, obviously we're a mount manufacturer, but we try to show our custom engineering in terms of building like a curved video wall structure, which we kind of saw a few of those on the show floor, trying to bring experimental design to people who might be looking to do something unique and ornate. We had some cool software in our booth. So basically, if you walk by the face of a video wall, you'd be able to kind of see it transform and kind of morph to what your body's doing in front of it with a little camera that we installed. So get people kind of in tune with the displays that we're kind of working with. And one really cool thing that we did this year compared to years past is we tried to make things a little bit more less focused on, just our product be on the wall. We wanted people to actually feel and install those products as well. So we actually held a mount installation challenge each day of the show. We found 3 winners who completed, our install the fastest, and each one of those winners got like a $500 gift card. And the mount that we used was super simple, so it was really easy for them to install. We actually had a record time over 3 days of 9 seconds, just under 9 seconds, to install a mount on the wall and have it level and flush. So it gets people a little bit more like of a games type of feel, like a little bit more involved with the booth. So we did a lot of cool things around the booth, and I think that really showed in terms of, the people that we talked to and the conversations that we had.
Well, that's interesting. Like it's fun to, make the booth more interactive. And I think in some respect, it probably speaks to how the show itself is changing. And, InfoComm, I'm sorry, Avixa, when it announced the numbers related to InfoComm 2019, it really called out that there was a lot of younger folks in attendance at the show. I wanted to get
Mhm.
your read. Like, did you see a shift in demographics among show attendees? What was your reaction to the attendance?
Yeah, I think the attendance was definitely good. I think it's on par with the number that Avixa released at about 44,000 ish. But the biggest thing that I saw in terms of traffic that came by our booth was, one big thing was first time attendees. So whatever Avixa ended up doing this year to get, more people from, who haven't attended InfoComm before, definitely worked. And we got a lot of people who came in and were asking really, really solid questions for their first time in. So it shows that there's still some people that have the needs for integrated systems, who haven't been to InfoComm yet, and it was a really good chance for them to kind of prospect through different exhibitors and different manufacturers and see how can I take my integration to the next level. But the biggest thing that I saw too was there were a lot more younger aged individuals walking the show floor, which is really positive and really enlightening for me to see. I even took the time we had a few like churches and a few schools and nonprofits actually come by our booth and, asking us questions about, the stuff that we made. So those younger individuals who managed to stop by our booth, I definitely took some extra time to, answer their questions, but also advocate on behalf of the industry and say, hey, if you're thinking about, jumping into this, obviously connect with the people that you see here at the show. But it's an industry that's advancing very quickly. It's very tech. You can kind of carve a rollout, no matter what your focus might be, whether it's actually installing products or if it's marketing or communications or whatever it might be. There's an opportunity for young people to carve out their role in the industry and kind of play a big part moving forward.
Now, I know you've been to InfoComm a couple other times, and for you to sort of notice that shift, it's significant because it reflects that there's a different mix of individuals who are attending the show, and I'm wondering also, like, are you able to sort of look at the folks that you talk to at InfoComm and predict or learn things about what that means for sort of the future of this AV integration industry?
Yeah, totally. We what we do is extremely exciting in terms of how everything comes together, and the average person is really unbeknownst to what it all takes to put together a video wall or an audio system or whatever it might be. So giving those people the opportunity to see that on the show floor, I think was a huge benefit to them. And as I mentioned, with young people actually walking the show floor, this gives them a huge vehicle to say, like, I want to add myself to the list of talent that works in the AV industry. And getting them a first look is definitely huge in terms of, this is something you can build on for the rest of your career. Here's where you get your experience. I think one thing in terms of the future of the industry that, would definitely be beneficial moving forward is the understanding of non-technical skills and roles that the industry needs to kind of stay relevant and stay operating at a right pace. And what I mean by that is, obviously we're a very tech-driven industry. We're very specifications-based. We like to know, the little facets and every little detail of how a system comes together. But there are soft skills amongst individuals who have worked in hospitality or retail or food service or whatever it may be, where they've learned these soft skills and they can actually kind of come into integration firms or even AV manufacturers and still use those skills that they've learned to kind of, make sure that the business runs to full capacity. And what I mean by that is, like, let's just say you are a student, right? And you're thinking about finding a career. You're used to time management, you're used to working with deadlines, and you're used to, working under pressure. Well, that may be someone that you groom into an AV project manager role because they've developed skills, whether it's in a classroom or in a work environment. They're able to take those skills and kind of translate it to what the needs of AV is. And then lastly, another future thing is just the demographic shift, that AV is going to kind of entail over the next 5 to 10 years. You'll see a lot more women coming into really, really high leadership roles and offering their perspectives on how to do things right. I think that's something that we've missed out on, and the role of, minorities as well. So having people from different backgrounds and different socioeconomic classes come in, it's just going to be really huge for the industry moving forward because you get to see all these different perspectives on how to do things the right way. And more perspective is valuable than too little.
Brandon, when I was in my Uber on the way to the show or the way, in from the airport, when I was initially coming into Orlando, the Uber driver was a female from South America. And she was kind of commenting on, all the folks that she had dropped off at InfoComm already. And she asked me if, she said, InfoComm, is that a show for men? Which I thought was really interesting. I tweeted that out, just kind of because I thought it was kind of funny, but also a little bit telling about the industry. Mm-hmm. And, for me, it got a lot of traction on social media, at least by my standards. And, it kind of shows me, perceptually, there is still that an enormous hurdle for the industry. It's still, she could have said white men as well as just men.
Totally.
Perceptually, the industry still has its challenges. I did think I saw the needle moved a little bit in terms of the folks who were attending InfoComm 2019. Did you think the needle moved?
Yeah, I think so. I think I saw a lot of, well, at least from my perspective as an exhibitor, I saw a lot of, international, people coming into my booth, asking a lot of questions, a lot of, like I said, diverse Americans from a bunch of different classes. There was even a nonprofit called the Loop Lab. And what that nonprofit does is it takes, kids who are underserved in the community of Cambridge, Massachusetts. And what they do is they brought some students out to InfoComm. They were able to walk the floor, meet with people, and kind of figure out, how do I carve my role into this industry? So, the fact that there's a lot of interest in terms of what we do from so many different points, I think the way that we get people even more interested is kind of just in like the outreach that we do as an industry, whether that's from, a federation standpoint who kind of overlooks the entire show, or even our roles as, small integration firms, small to large integration firms, and even our, manufacturers such as ourselves. We have to advocate and we have to provide a platform for these people to kind of come in and learn. So one thing actually that we've done here at Premier Mounts, we actually just hired an intern who started yesterday. She's working in our marketing department, learning about AV and understanding how to, market solutions and systems. So, but, if we wouldn't have ever gotten the approval for the internship or even pursued it as an avenue within our own means, this individual may have not gotten the opportunity to learn. So sometimes you have to extend yourself out. And that can be a myriad of things, whether it's, personal internships. It could be job fairs or career fairs at technical schools. It could be speaking at, high schools and universities. Those are all things that'll get people interested. But we have to kind of market it in a broad sense, so that way people who don't know the industry now would want to know it after, hearing, what we have to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the key, right? I mean, marketing it in more of a broad sense because the industry is interesting. The industry is really dynamic and exciting, no matter what age you are. And
Mhm.
also, there are great career opportunities in the industry. In my experience, when you ask young folks about the industry, they say, "Oh, I never heard of that." But when they learn about it, they get really excited about it. So to me, that's kind of the key and the next hurdle for, the talent recruitment challenge in this industry.
Yeah, totally. And I've been on here a couple times and I've talked about esports as kind of like a small vehicle that AV needs to pay attention to. But I'm watching these kids and they're building high grade computers already at age 10 through 13. So they're familiar with connectivity. They're familiar with power inputs. They're familiar with high definition displays and how to run it through like their CPU. So you know the future generation of this industry are already learning things just in their personal habits, because tech is so integrated as part of their lives, that it should be a little bit easier of a transition if they decide to pursue AV as a career. And that's all we can really hope for going forward through just advocacy and messaging.
All right. Well, Brandon Breznick from Premier Mounts. We always like it when you talk to the folks at Commercial Integrator, and we're glad you're recovered from InfoComm 2019.
Yeah, thanks. It's good to be back, and just kind of looking forward to InfoComm 2020 now, as crazy as that sounds.